John once served in a special forces team, but now he lives a quiet life with his wife and child. One night, he wakes up to the sound of his child calling for him. Concerned, he checks around the house and walks into the kitchen, where he finds 3 masked men. Before he can react, one of them attacks and beats him severely, leaving him nearly unconscious. As he lies on the floor, John watches helplessly while the intruders take his wife and child hostage. He pleads for their lives, but they ignore him. Moments later, they kill his family before his eyes. Time passes. John wakes up in a hospital, weak and disoriented. A doctor informs him that he has been in a coma for 9 months since the attack. His reckoning had begun. This is Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning.
Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning.
While trying to process the news, John is introduced to an FBI agent named Gorman. Agent Gorman shows John a photograph of a man who resembles one of the killers. The man's name is Luke Devereaux, a former decorated officer who has become a dangerous terrorist. According to Gorman, Luke is now wanted by the U.S. Embassy for multiple violent acts. The doctor warns Gorman not to overwhelm John with too much information while he recovers. Before leaving, Gorman hands John his card and asks him to call if any memories return. Days later, John is cleared to leave the hospital. At the lobby, a staff member returns his belongings. When he arrives home, he walks through the empty rooms filled with memories of his family. Grief floods back as fragments of that night replay in his mind. Meanwhile, at a nightclub across town, a man named Magnus enters the building. Known publicly as a pipe repairman, he has a darker purpose. Without hesitation, he attacks the guards and brutally assaults everyone inside. When the chaos ends, Magnus faces a powerful man named GR13. A violent fight breaks out. GR13 gains the upper hand and stabs Magnus, leaving him wounded but alive. GR13, revealed to be a clone of Luke Devereaux, is on a mission to recruit strong and ruthless men. Seeing potential in Magnus, he injects him with a serum that erases his past and turns him into a loyal soldier. Back at home, John struggles with grief and confusion. His memory remains fractured, leaving him uncertain of who he truly is. One day, he receives a call from a man claiming to be his friend, Isaac, asking for help. Driven by curiosity and a faint sense of recognition, John decides to go to the address. When he arrives, red stains lead him to a back room, where he finds Isaac dead in a gruesome scene. Shocked but composed, John searches the room for answers. He takes a photo, a voice recorder, and a ticket to a nightclub called Violet's Cabaret. Realizing these items may hold answers, John decides to visit the nightclub. On the way, he listens to the voice recorder. The message describes secret experiments to create enhanced soldiers for a special forces program. The information leaves John uneasy but more determined to uncover the truth. At the nightclub, John spots a woman named Sarah. She recognizes him and quickly tries to avoid contact. While John gathers his thoughts in the restroom, Magnus suddenly appears. As John looks into the mirror, Magnus attacks and stabs him with a needle-like weapon, leaving him paralyzed. Moments later, nightclub security drags John outside and throws him into the street. Recovering from the attack, John decides to confront Sarah. He tracks her to her home and corners her, demanding to know what she's hiding. Before she can explain, Magnus bursts in and attacks again. The fight is brutal and close. Magnus slashes John's fingers, but John retaliates and injures Magnus in return. Amid the chaos, John manages to grab Sarah and escape. Elsewhere, Magnus reports back to a secret base run by Luke. Inside, a large group of soldiers chants and cheers as GR13 delivers a rousing speech about strength and freedom. The soldiers respond with fierce loyalty, their eyes filled with devotion. At a small roadside motel, Sarah finally agrees to tell John what she knows. She says John once worked as a delivery driver who often visited the nightclub where she worked. They had a brief relationship, but it ended after she saw his violent side when he attacked a man in anger. Her story doesn't match what John remembers, leaving him confused and unsettled. The memories in his mind clash with her version of events, and the trauma from his past keeps haunting him. Seeking clarity, John decides to call Agent Gorman, the man who once visited him in the hospital. Soon after, Gorman meets John and reveals disturbing information about Luke. For the past 3 years, Luke has been capturing government agents and brainwashing them into loyal soldiers. Gorman advises John to revisit his former workplace, believing the answers to his missing memories may be there. The next day, John and Sarah visit John's old workplace. Upon arrival, John speaks with the warehouse manager and asks about his stored belongings. The manager leads him to the storage area and shows him several boxes marked with his name. After collecting a few items, John requests to meet his former boss, Ron Castellano. When they meet, John learns that Ron is not an ordinary employer but a powerful mafia leader who controls much of the city's underground operations. Ron explains that the packages John once delivered were not simple shipments but part of a larger network involving illegal trade. Seeing John's confusion, Ron realizes he has lost his memory. He hints that John's true identity would shock him, then shows him security footage from the same room where Isaac was found dead. In the video, a man wearing a hoodie appears. As John looks closer, he recognizes himself as the person in the footage. The discovery shakes him deeply. Ron warns that he is in serious danger, and John rushes out of the building, struggling to process what he has learned. While driving away, John asks Sarah about a cabin she once stayed in, hoping it might help him piece things together. Before she can finish explaining, another car suddenly crashes into them. Magnus is behind the wheel, attacking with full force. A violent chase unfolds through the streets as Magnus tries to kill them both. During the chaos, fragments of John's past resurface. He remembers being ruthless, trained to fight without hesitation. The memories fuel his determination. The chase ends with a brutal confrontation, and John defeats Magnus after a fierce struggle. Wounded but alive, John and Sarah escape the scene. Later, they stop at a quiet spot to rest and tend to their injuries. As John wraps his hand, he notices something strange. The deep cuts on his fingers have already healed completely. Confusion sets in as he realizes that no ordinary person could recover that fast. The truth begins to form in his mind. John understands he was part of a secret government experiment designed to create enhanced humans with extraordinary abilities. A few minutes later, John and Sarah reach a cabin hidden deep in the forest. As they approach, they are stunned to see someone who looks exactly like John. In that moment, they uncover the shocking truth. John not only has superhuman abilities, but he also has a clone. Suddenly, Sarah realizes that the man she once knew wasn't the real John, but his duplicate. The clone begins to reveal the truth behind their existence. He explains that John was part of a government experiment created to produce enhanced humans for secret missions. Both he and John were engineered to possess extraordinary strength and abilities. The program's purpose was to stop Luke and his growing army. Luke had stolen a powerful machine capable of creating superhuman clones and was using it to build his own forces. John finally understands that his life was never random. He was designed for a purpose far greater than he imagined. The clone continues, admitting that a tracking chip had been implanted in his body, giving Luke complete control over him. The chip allowed Luke to monitor his location and manipulate his actions, while keeping the government from finding him. At first, the clone believed following Luke offered freedom from his creators. Over time, he realized that Luke was no different. Both the government and Luke treated people as disposable tools, using them to serve their ambitions. The clone's voice grows heavy with regret as he admits that he has been caught between two ruthless powers, each driven by domination and control. He recognizes the damage he has caused and the lives lost because of it. Moments later, the clone's behavior changes. As he embraces Sarah, his demeanor shifts, and he suddenly attacks. Acting on instinct, John shoots him before he can cause harm. The threat ends, but John feels no relief. He asks Sarah to remove the tracking chip from his neck, then tells her to leave for her own safety. After she's gone, John heads to a quiet riverbank to clear his mind. There, one of Luke's men finds him. Pretending to surrender, John allows himself to be taken to Luke's base, where the soldiers welcome him without suspicion, unaware of his true purpose. Inside, John meets a doctor who delivers a devastating revelation. The memories of his wife and child being murdered were never real. They were implanted to manipulate him, giving him a false motive for revenge. The doctor advises John to erase those memories, explaining that they are the source of his pain and confusion. John hesitates, torn between the truth and the only memories that ever felt real to him. Eventually, he agrees to the memory erasing procedure. As it begins, flashes of warmth and happiness appear in his mind, showing him moments with his supposed family. Even though he knows they are fabricated, they give him a brief sense of peace. Unable to let them go, John stops the procedure and chooses to keep the memories. Afterward, John fights his way through Luke's base, taking down every soldier in his path. His training and enhanced abilities push him beyond human limits. He finally faces GR-13, a powerful and relentless opponent. The battle is brutal, but John overpowers him without using any weapons. With GR-13 defeated, John advances to confront Luke himself. Luke, now enhanced with the same experimental procedure, proves to be even stronger. Their fight is intense, both men pushing each other to the edge. In the end, John prevails, leaving Luke severely wounded. Before dying, Luke tells John that his struggle is meaningless. The government continues to produce new versions of him, repeating the same cycle of violence and control. Luke's final words echo in John's mind. He realizes that his clone was right all along. Both Luke and the government share the same goal: power through domination. They create, control, and destroy without remorse, using people as disposable weapons. The realization fills John with anger, but also clarity. His true enemy is not one man, but the system that made him. As he stands among the wreckage, 3 of Luke's soldiers appear. Expecting another fight, John braces himself. Instead, the soldiers bow their heads, silently pledging their loyalty to him. Later, in a forest clearing, John meets Agent Gorman. Knowing Luke has been eliminated, Gorman offers John a new beginning, a fabricated family with fresh implanted memories. He explains that John is the most advanced version ever made, his emotional attachment making him stronger than any before. The words hit John like a final betrayal. Realizing he has been nothing more than a tool, he turns on Gorman and ends him. For a moment, it feels like justice. But then, a new clone of Gorman steps calmly out of a car and drives away in the same vehicle. The cycle continues. So the moral of the story is, even if you think you're the main character, there's probably a clone somewhere living your drama better than you.